All right. It looks like we are at 10 o'clock. I appreciate everybody for logging on for our webinar for tracking resource usage to save money. It's a joint effort from LabStats and University of Texas, El Paso. If you have any questions throughout, feel free to throw those into the chat box. We're going to be discussing how to optimize computer labs to maximize resources, allocate restricted budgets, collaborate across departments, and to publish live availability of resources. To start off with, I wanted to introduce our guest speaker, which is Lizette at the University of El Paso. She is the Director of Support Services and Technology Support, and will be sharing her experiences of using LabStats in order to save money. So take it away, Lizette. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time and for having me partake on this webinar, which I've been very happy with this product. So having the opportunity to share my experience and how it's helped us here at the University of Texas at El Paso is a great opportunity for me to do that. As Tyler mentioned, my name is Lizette Gameros. I'm the Director of Support Services here at Technology Support. I oversee all of the support services areas to include the help desk, PC support, and then our desktop management folks who actually help with management of the labs across campus. And this is why my involvement with LabStats takes place. Just to give you guys a little bit of information about our institution, we have our FTE is a little over 18,000. We have over 1,400 computer labs, 1,400 lab computers across 40 plus labs on campus. The structure as far as like with the support, including, software and everything that we have and equipment is primarily comes from our student fees. And we do though, even though we do, our team directly oversees 3 of the main campus labs across campus, but the other remaining 37 are managed locally, sometimes by the different departments. So we do have sort of a decentralized management of that. And so this tool though helps us with the collaboration. So before we acquired LabStats, we actually tried in-house building things and stuff because we had various needs and challenges at the university, especially as we were trying to open new labs or see what was needed. So just really to try to understand the lab, we needed to understand the lab environment, and we needed accurate lab and app usage for that. So when we try to do something in-house, obviously it didn't work very well for us. There was a lot of discrepancies and things like that. And then the fact that we had different lab managers and things like that just to kind of follow suit with what we were trying to do was very difficult. We also needed to efficiently gather and present data, I have a very data-driven boss that wanted constantly for me to be presenting data, and it was a lot of effort. It was a lot of time effort, not only for me but my staff as well. Then of course we're in the UT system, and sometimes people think we have big budgets, but unfortunately UT El Paso, we do have a lot. Our budgets are restrictive. We don't have a lot of funds, so we have to make the best of it. So for the refreshing of equipment, things like that, that was a challenge because we needed to prioritize who needed really the equipment, because maybe we did have a lab, 2 labs that needed computer replacement based on their age. But then if we didn't have the utilization to back it up, who do you give the funds to, right? So every year we have a certain amount of budget where we have to, maintain all of our equipment and decide which computers are up for a refresh and a replacement. So this has come really in handy. There's a great report that we've been able to utilize for that really makes it so simple for our team every year to just say, okay, these are up this year based on utilization and age of computers. We're gonna, go ahead and refresh these labs. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the decentralization of management, this has greatly helped because we're able to just say we're going to install this on the labs and with the external departments, and they collaborate with us because they know that if they don't have this installed on their computer labs, that if they don't have the LabStats client installed, they're not going to be up for replacement ever with us. We're never going to assist them with money to replace any computers that they may need to. So oftentimes, at the beginning, it was like, no, they just kind of wanted to ignore it, and we would say, hey, we're showing that we're easily able to tell that they don't have it installed, or that they have some computers that are not working. So not only do we have them install the client, we ask them to upkeep it to make sure that it's reporting the right usage. And so this has greatly helped because, again, without this tool, we tell them we're not able to get data that your lab is really utilized. And that's important to us because we want to make sure that the labs that are being utilized are getting, the newer equipment and things like that. We're also, so I'm just going to show you guys real quick based on that. This is kind of the login summary by group report that we use within LabStats. We are able to get, we added some columns, just for our knowledge, just to upkeep it, but we do have the team that maintains this constantly feeding to this. We added, of course, notes so that we're able to have the point, and we have the point of contacts, that we added to this. But this is pretty much something that we run from LabStats. And then this graph is something where we developed a quick formula using the users per PC and the usage. So those two are what we really utilize to make the determination on when computers need to be replaced. The usage has to be there, and of course the number of users, because sometimes you have high usage on things. So we put different ways on it, right? And that's up to however your institution feels. We put more weight on like the users versus usage, and things like that, just to see which ones it's impacting the majority of our students. So I just wanted to share a screenshot of this, of how we, this report really is almost a one-stop shop for us to be able to determine, to do this every year when we do our refresh for our computer labs. So another thing that we utilize, again, because we want to make sure that we're getting needs, is, of course, we have the application summary report. As some of you may know, or I'm sure most of you know, Adobe has continuously been changing licensing, and that's been a big challenge, for us to make sure that we're making the software available to our students, but then also at minimal cost, because it's Creative Cloud's not cheap. So we started to really utilize, and this is an old report, but this is how we utilize the counts, of who's using it, like what labs have the most usage, and launches and things like that. And we're able to make decisions as to how many computers we really just need this on, and it's going to fulfill the needs without having to put it on every single machine. So just to give you an example, our biggest lab on campus is managed by us, and we have over 300 computers on there, Windows and Mac, but our Macs, we do have over 50. But we were, with utilizing these reports and continuously using our trending, we were able to just say, okay, we only have Creative Cloud on 10 computers. And that's been able to fulfill the needs with no complaints, and it's worked great for us. And these are the kind of things that also help us see what the users are using it for too, because this is the application report for just the Adobe apps, but we use it for everything else as well. I think that's pretty much, just wanted to let you guys know how we're using it. Some of the other things in addition that we're using this for is for whenever we open a new lab, like I was mentioning, this gives us an idea of how many computers we need, what kind of user experience as well. So we have them, one of our biggest labs, we have it split up into sections where we have some stand-up kiosk, and our directors were, at one point, our administration was saying, hey, maybe these are not a good idea. Like, how comfortable is it for students to be having to stand up when they want to use a computer? So leadership was kind of like resistant in us adding some of these on our new lab. But then when we ran a report of our other lab and said, look, these are the ones that are the most highly used. It was great to have to be able to show them that, even when it comes to trying to look at spacing and how we're gonna set up new new areas and things like that. And then we also have it in our classroom computers. Just finally want to add that as well, because we want to see what faculty, are using in the classroom. Because of course, image, creations and things like that for us is we want to keep clean images and make them usable and be able to have everything they need, but then not have to fill it up with every single software that we think they need. So this is a way that we get that feedback and being able to provide them just what they need, keep login times at a minimal, because we're not putting every single application that we think they need. So in summary, like I mentioned, we prioritize the lab, the replacement of our lab equipment with this. We monitor application usage, software renewals, image adjustments, like I mentioned, and then we're able to quickly gather and analyze all the data that we need to provide to our leadership here on campus.
Thank you very much for that, Lizette. At this point, we don't have any questions in the chat window, so just a reminder, if you guys have questions, feel free to throw them up there. And it is an excellent point that Lizette made is administration needs to know what's going on. We need to be able to provide data to people that have specific roles at the university. A lab director is going to need to know what's going on in their lab. The CIO is going to need to know exactly what's going on so that they can allocate budgets and you can make projections. So really the value of reports is to be able to get the information that you need without having to sort through a lot of irrelevant data. So this is the goal. For instance, on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that there's a usage chart, which is great data, but the purpose of that is not to get a chart, it's to be able to allow you guys to make very strategic and very focused decisions on where to allocate the resources. So as Lizette had said with their Creative Cloud, they weren't putting them on every single computer. They were figuring out how many of them that they needed in order for the students to have access to it, but not waste money on licenses that are going unused. The other value of hard data reports is when it comes time to allocating budgets or refreshing or expanding a lab or reducing a lab, you're taking the guesswork out of it, and you're using hard data in order to be able to verify exactly what's needed and where. It also takes a lot of departmental politics out of the equation when you're looking at budgets, to be able to verify what the utilization is and be able to match that with the requests that are being made from each individual department. So the relevant data changes based on the report that you're looking at. Do you want to look at a report that compares two campuses with each other, looks at one campus, looks at one department, one computer lab, or even down to specific attributes of the computers themselves, such as hardware type, manufacturer, different resources that are available? So stations are one application of the reports to be able to look at that, but we can't forget about applications. You can run reports that focus on a specific type of application, a specific software suite, a specific manufacturer, anything that you have selected that you wanted to look at. As far as looking at users, you can look at users based on grade level, the college that they're part of, accessibility requirements. You can really configure that. Now, when you take the overall picture and you configure these reports, you can figure out where the utilization is, and that can help determine who needs to pay for certain resources, if everything is right-sized, if everybody has everything that they do need. Tags are the best way in order to configure these reports. So on the screen, you can see examples of tags. So we have tags for manufacturer, like Adobe. You have tags for a type of software packages, so like CAD or mathematics or image editing. But you also can tag individual software suites like Office or the Adobe suites, as Lizette had mentioned. Now, the little number in orange in the corner shows how many different software packages are included within that tag. So this is showing a configuration of a sample report. You can configure any of the reports based on several criteria. First, date. If you wanted to look at 1 week, you can look at a month, You can look at a semester, depending on the report you're trying to get. I just got a question up in the chat box. Is LabStats installed on all PCs and Macs? Yes, we do support PCs and Macs. It does work within thin clients. That is something where we need to get a little bit of additional information. There's an extra configuration step as far as the thin clients. We also can run reports. Another question that came in on application version. We have reports specifically on the applications where you can see exactly which version is available, which computers that version is installed on, and those reports are also exportable, so that if you need to send that information up the management chain, you can definitely do that. So as far as just a really quick overview of how LabStats works, because I'm getting a couple questions about that. It's a client that gets installed on the computer, and then it runs in the background and reports back to our software exactly what activity is occurring on that computer. So we can see what users logging in, we can see their session times, we can see the applications they're opening, you can see how often individuals are logging in. You can configure this data in different ways. We do that while maintaining the privacy guidelines that are going to be required for universities. So for instance, if you're watching someone as a user session on their browser or Facebook or something like that, we're not going to see any of their personal information, but we are going to see what applications they're accessing and how long they're spending on it. So jumping back to this configuration of the report, again, you can schedule the time frame that you want the report to look at. As far as including all stations, this would allow you to select whether you want to look at all stations on campus, a specific computer lab, or even those that are tagged for certain attributes. With this one, we have applications tagged with Adobe pulled out as a configuration for this sample report here. Now, when we look at a tag for image editing software, you can see here that there are 9 programs that are installed that accomplish some kind of image editing. But on the graph, you can see that there's only 4 lines, which means that there are only 4 programs out of that list of 9 that are currently being used. Now you can look at the other 5 and determine, are they part of another software suite? They just are what they are. Is it free software that is been downloaded? And is it necessary? If nobody's using it, it could be cleaned up. Everybody says there is no such thing as a free lunch. I would also say there's no such thing as free IT services. Even if the software is free, it's going to cost you staff time and server resources as well. Might as well get rid of it if nobody's using it. So when we dig down a little bit deeper, we can look at, for instance, this is that image editing software. We're seeing the maximum concurrent usage. So you can see the maximum number of people that logged on at one time to use each of these software packages during the period that we configure the report for. So in this example, if we're looking at Photoshop, we have, just as an example, if there's 50 licenses that have been purchased on the for the university, we look at this report and you can see that at most during the period of this report, 17 of those licenses were being used at one time. Now this data allows you guys to be very strategic as far as what to do there. Where do you install the software? Just like Lizette said, with their Creative Cloud, they were able to reduce the number of licenses, but still have that available to students to use without wasting money on these licenses that are going unused. You can also use this to determine if it makes sense to go with some of these other different pricing models, such as a campus-wide license or individual licenses, and how many. The other really nice thing is to not only be able to make sure that the resources are available to students, but also let them know that those resources are available. So we have Lab Maps, which is going to allow you to publish on the school website live information about where computers are available. So in this example, you can see that any computer that has a green screen is available, ready to be logged onto. If it's a blue screen, there's somebody sitting there typing at the keys, it's in use. And if it's a gray screen, it is not currently connected, which it may just be powered off, or it may be down for maintenance or something like that. So you can see exactly what computers are available, but that's only part of the puzzle. The other part of the puzzle is making sure that they know what resources that they need are available. So here we could actually designate on the map where certain software applications are available. So if you do a strategic deployment, students know exactly where it's at. You can also highlight resources that may fall under the ADA compliance guidelines, such as wheelchair accessibility, OCR readers, magnifiers, things like that. One thing that I have noticed in looking at most schools, at a lot of schools' websites, is almost every school has a link that's about their ADA guidelines, accessibility guidelines, and it goes something to the effect of, we take ADA compliance very seriously. Call us at this number to make a request for a resource or to file a complaint, which is a very reactive approach. I have also found that it is usually easier to find a school's concealed carry weapons policy than it is to find any reference to their ADA compliance guidelines. How much more powerful would it be to be able to say, we take accessibility very seriously? In fact, click here and you can see what resources are available on campus in regards to wheelchair accessibility, OCR readers, any of those resources that you have, and not only which resources are available, but what's available right now. Now, in addition to that, you can tag those resources in LabStats, which means that you can run a report to verify that those resources are being used. Who are they being used by? What's the utilization level? Just to make sure that you have enough of those resources and you can verify that when students need it, it is available. You can also put in indications for lab requirements, such as lab hours that they're available for open access, quiet hours, things like that. So it's a really, really fun feature. My counterparts kind of tease me about it. This is my uphill in the snow both ways story. When I was in school, I went to school in Idaho. I would have given my graphing calculator for the opportunity to know exactly where a computer was available right now before I left home, so that I could go find the resources that I needed and not walk across campus in the snow to find an available computer. That brings us to the end of our content. If you have any additional questions for Lizette or for myself, send them to me. Here's my email address. If there are others at your institutions that you know of that are interested in this content, but the time frame for this was inconvenient, reach out to me there as well, because we can make the playback available for them on demand. I can also reach out to you, make sure your questions were answered, and if there were any other resources that we can offer. Thank you for everyone joining us, and I hope the material was of value to you. Thank you.